It began with one woman. In July 1518, a woman known as Frau Trophäa stepped into a sunlit street in Strasbourg and began to dance. There was no music, no celebration. She danced alone, spinning, jerking, twisting, for hours, then days. She didn't stop to eat. She didn't respond to pleas. And then others joined her. Within a week, the crowd had grown to more than 30. Within a month, there were as many as 400 dancers, men and women, rich and poor, all caught in a trance-like frenzy, their bodies moving seemingly against their will. Some collapsed from exhaustion. Others reportedly died. The city of Strasbourg, a bustling hub in the Holy Roman Empire, was gripped by a phenomenon no one could explain and no one could control. What history remembers as the dancing plague of 1518 was one of the strangest public health events in European memory. And it wasn't entirely without precedent. Earlier outbreaks of dancing mania had occurred along the Rhine River, in places like Aachen and Cologne. But the Strasbourg event was unusually intense and unusually well documented. Civic leaders and chroniclers recorded the progression with growing alarm. This was a deeply religious age, one of famine, plague, and social anxiety. The people of Strasbourg were no strangers to hardship. In the years leading up to 1518, the region had suffered from poor harvests and disease. Saints and demons were seen as active forces in daily life, and one saint in particular, Saint Vitus, was often invoked in cases of involuntary dancing or convulsions. As the dancers multiplied, the city council sought answers. Physicians ruled out demonic possession and instead diagnosed the sufferers with hot blood, a physical condition requiring balance and purging. Incredibly, their prescription was more dancing. Authorities erected stages and hired musicians. Believing the afflicted needed to dance the sickness out of their systems, they turned Strasbourg's public squares into open-air dance halls. But the results were catastrophic. According to some reports, up to 15 people a day were dying from exhaustion, strokes, or heart attacks. Though exact death tolls are disputed, the dancing showed no signs of slowing down. Desperation turned the city back toward faith. In early September, authorities abandoned the music therapy and escorted the remaining dancers, many barely able to stand, to a shrine dedicated to Saint Vitus in the Vosges Mountains. There, after days of prayer, offerings, and religious rituals, the epidemic finally stopped. What actually caused the dancing plague? That question has baffled historians for centuries. One early theory blamed ergot poisoning, consumption of moldy rye, infected with a hallucinogenic fungus related to LSD. Ergotism can cause convulsions and hallucinations, but it doesn't explain the extended duration, the rhythmic dancing, or the contagious spread. Most modern scholars now consider the event a classic case of mass psychogenic illness, an outbreak of psychosomatic symptoms in a tight-knit, stressed population. Faced with famine, disease, and religious fear, the people of Strasbourg may have experienced a kind of communal nervous breakdown, expressed through involuntary movement and socially reinforced hysteria. But even this theory doesn't answer every question. Why dancing? Why for weeks? And why, despite numerous similar outbreaks in the Middle Ages, did these events seem to vanish by the 17th century? The dancing plague of 1518 sits at the intersection of faith, medicine, and psychology, offering a glimpse into a time when the boundaries between body and mind, science and superstition, were far blurrier than they are today. It also echoes through history. In 1962, schoolgirls in Tanzania broke into uncontrollable laughter for weeks, a modern-day analog known as the Tanganyika laughter epidemic. These incidents remind us that while medicine advances, the human psyche remains vulnerable to forces we barely understand. Back in Strasbourg, the event left no permanent memorial, just fragments in chronicles, letters, and legends. But for a brief, sweltering summer in 1518, an entire city watched as people danced themselves into delirium, not for joy, not for celebration, but for reasons still lost to time, and no one could make them stop. If you liked what you watched, please like and subscribe. We post interesting and crazy stories from throughout history every Wednesday and Saturday. Yesterday's craziness? Because yesterday was crazy too.